folks, if you want to go ahead and find your seats, we're going to get started here. Yeah, awesome. Hey, well, first of all, thank you all for coming this evening. This is Volume 3. Brock just asked me, and I said, yeah, it's Volume 3, Brock. We're already 3 times into this, and we still don't know what the heck we're doing. So bear with us. But we are excited to have you here. Obviously, we've got a great featured guest, and we've got our basketball coaches that are here tonight in kind of a basketball-crazy town. Since I've been part of the community here, especially on the network for the last year, getting to call the games, there's a huge following, and this is an attestament to it tonight. So, Brock, before we get started with that, we got to kind of recognize some of the things that's been going on with Ballard and things like that. The volleyball team had a great end of the year, came up short in the regional final over in Marion. Hopefully, if you couldn't be over there for that, you tuned into the network because we were over there to broadcast it, which was a huge deal. So we thank those folks that sponsored that and allowed us to do it. I know there was a party in here, and I think the kids were watching on the wall and cheering and stuff. So appreciate Matt and Marianne and Flight for doing that. Football team just came up a little bit short. A team that beat us, North Polk, going to the Dome, so they'll be playing this Friday. So
that's 2 Raccoon River Conference teams in the Dome.
Yeah, 2 Raccoon River, and was almost had a third. So, but as you've heard me say on the broadcast, and as you know that I love the movie Lion King, is Rafiki hit Simba upside the head, and he says, why do you do that? He says, it doesn't matter, it's in the past. So that stuff's all in the past. So we're moving forward, onward and upward. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the cheerleading squad that won the 3A state championship in the cheer and dance division, the first time ever for Ballard High School. So give those girls a big round of applause. That's pretty impressive stuff. I heard through the grapevine that there was kind of a look of confusion when the team that won it last year got called up for second place, and I think the Ballard girls kind of looked at each other like, what the hell? And all of a sudden, they won the championship. So kudos to those girls and the coaches, and hopefully maybe in the next month or 2 we can have some of the coaches on, and they can tell us about that. So,
yeah, it'd be a great time.
Brock, what do you got to add? What are you looking forward to tonight, Brock?
I'm a basketball junkie, so this is definitely probably the most excited I've ever been for our flyby show. I mean, we've only done it 3 times, but being a basketball fan and especially being a huge college basketball fan, I am very excited for our guests that we have tonight.
Brock, who's your favorite college team? Brock, you got to be honest. There's people here.
I had to wear a Hawkeye jersey when we had our last.
Okay, so who's your favorite college?
I'm an Iowa State fan.
Okay, well, I'm a Drake fan, so I don't know what you're. I'm a Drake University guy. I have been for all of at least 37 minutes.
You wanted to make it worse is that if I had told you that I actually grew up cheering for Iowa State and Northern Iowa. So.
Well, there you go. So we've got some.
Which I did.
Brief. Okay. And I was also a Creighton fan, too. So I'm 2 for 2. Brock's 0 for 2. Anyway, I guess without further ado, you guys did not come here to listen to us or watch us. Without further ado, give a big hand for our featured speaker, Coach Darian DeVries, Drake men's basketball. Come on up, Coach.
Sure.
Coach, you're going to have to talk to me on this one. Matt. I'm looking at Matt. Okay.
So you're the issue.
I am. That's what I get for lying. Is that better? Okay, we'll try that.
That's because you lied.
Well, no, I was honest-ish. I was honest-ish, Coach. Coach DeVries, thank you for being here. How I got Coach was through a mutual friend of mine and through Trevor Michelson, and you guys probably know Trevor. He's the head coach for ADM. For boys basketball. You guys can boo him if you want to. He's not here. But I coached with Trevor at Walk. He actually lived in his basement. And I said, hey, we're doing this show, and do you happen to know Coach DeVries? And he goes, well, yeah, because he coached Tucker. So he got a hold of Coach, and Coach is like, yeah, you can give this guy my number. Lucky you.
Yeah, I had told Trevor when he was coaching Tucker in high school that if he lets him shoot any shot he wants, I owe him a favor someday. So I'm paying it back.
Hey, that's a big favor. I like that. So anyway, that's how Coach got here. But Coach, let's get into this. We sent you the questions earlier. You said you kind of skimmed over them. give us your background, kind of your upbringing, where you're from originally. We kind of know and all that, but tell us about you, about Darian DeVries.
Yeah, I grew up in Appleton Parkersburg High School when we consolidated in '93, which was my senior year. So grew up on the farm. Went to Northern Iowa to play college basketball. After that, I went to Creighton, and I was an assistant coach there for 20 years. And then that brought me to Drake University, 6 years ago now. So I had a family of five, or 5 of us siblings, I guess. So we had some interesting days growing up.
That was the next questions. What was that like in the DeVries household?
Yeah, so there's four brothers and a sister. My poor sister, God love her. The dinner table was an interesting event every night. Like it was, I'm a little guy compared to the rest of the crew. So the fight for the mashed potatoes was on. Once that prayer got done, you got to it, or you were going to get left out. So it's, but it was a small town. You love it. The fondest memories ever of growing up in small town and how the community rallies. You're talking about the high school sports teams, and brings back so many memories of what small town athletics is all about.
For sure. Who's the best athlete out of the DeVries family?
I'd say this. I think I fall like 5th. Sometimes then maybe I get 4th, depending on who's voting. Mom gives me a sympathy vote because I'm the oldest. But, so
there you go.
Yeah, I'm on the bottom of that poll.
Because your sister coaches Waukee Northwest volleyball, right?
Yep, she coaches Waukee Northwest volleyball, who just won a state championship. So that was
pretty cool. Yeah, you can give her a round of applause. That's pretty cool. So the coaching gene's kind of in the family then.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. She's got her 3 nieces playing for her. I have my son. Maybe it's some genetics that's helping us out more than our coaching.
Sure. So you said Appleton Parkersburg. Obviously, lots of tradition from AP, right? I mean, the next question on the list was coach that shaped you. Obviously, Ed Thomas was up there. Do you got anything there? Was he a guy that shaped kind of? How'd you get involved in coaching? What made you want to say, hey, I want to coach? I want to be a Division I basketball player, but now I want to coach, and this is what my life is going to be forever. How'd you get there?
Yeah, I had some incredible coaches growing up. Speed Limburg and Bill Dorn were my basketball coaches. They were just awesome. And then Ed Thomas, as you mentioned, just an incredible football coach, incredible person, incredible mentor. Coaching was just always something. I thought I was going to be an elementary school teacher and coach basketball. And when I got done playing at Northern Iowa, I got the opportunity to start as a graduate assistant at Creighton. And then it just kind of stayed in that world after I got done with my master's. So timing, got a little lucky, and it's part of it sometimes. So, but excited to be doing what I'm doing and love every minute of it.
Right, that's awesome. And so you've been part of some pretty good programs as far as just you and I and going to Creighton. So you were there with Coach Altman. Was he there right away, and then Coach McDermott came, correct?
Yeah, so been a part of some good teams. You said you and I, we were not good.
Well,
by the way.
You were part of the you and I program.
We were tried hard. They got good after I left. They got better players.
So were you one of those guys that you were a better coach than a player?
I'm hoping so, yes.
I would say your record says that. But anyway, continue on. So you were there with Altman, and then stayed on with Coach McDermott, right?
Yeah, I was there, I believe it was 13 years with Coach Altman, and then 7 years with Coach McDermott, and 2 great coaches to be under and learn from. They both very different in how they do it, but both, again, incredible people, and the way they approached it is something that there's a reason they're successful, and it's been fun to watch, and be a part of some of those teams that we've had over the course of those 20 years. Some very good players. A lot of you remember Kyle Corver from Pella, and Doug McDermott, obviously a really good one as well. So, but a lot of Iowa players were over at Creighton during our 20 years there.
Yeah, for sure. And I've got a lot of, some of my friends are sitting here, and they know I'm from South Dakota originally, and we talked about this earlier. You recruited Zach Hansen that went to Pierre, South Dakota, and I coached Zach when he was an 8th grader and a freshman. So there's more South Dakota connections. South Dakota is a state of 1 degree of separation. You're either related to somebody or you know somebody. You know, that's just how it works. So I had to throw that in there.
Zach gives you a lot of credit for that 1 year that you coached.
Does he?
Yeah.
I don't know if he does, because Zach and I was in charge of the posts, and he was a freshman, and he was about 6'8", 165 pounds. I used to call him Frosty, I don't know what I call him, Softy the Snowman. So he was soft as a pillow, and God, he hated that. But he grew into his body and had a great career at Creighton. So you
I can see why he talked about you so much.
He's tried to forget me, I think. I always try to reach out. He never answers. Anyway, okay. Tell us this: what does an off season look like for a Division I program? Drake, Creighton, whatever. What does it look like? What does it look like for you as a coach? I guess.
We golf every day.
Oh, there it is. We got a great course out here. You're gonna have to come up, play.
I usually come up here 3 times a week. Yeah.
Really? I haven't seen you. That's fine. Okay.
I'm usually in the woods. That's where you're going to see me. The off-season, a lot of it's recruiting. It does slow down a little bit in the summertime. We have our summer camps and those type of things. And now, which is different than maybe when we were coming through, our access now to players is a lot more. We get 4 hours a week in the gym. So basically, we do an hour of practice 4 days a week. And then they get 4 hours in the strength and conditioning as well. So once June starts through July, it's a mixture of workouts and recruiting, and then our camps and those type of things.
So do you try to keep guys on campus as far as like taking some summer classes to keep them there, keep everybody around? Is that how that looks? Or?
Yeah, we get 8 weeks.
Okay.
So most of June and July, they'll be there working out. So then when August hits, we have about 2-3 weeks. It's just kind of our good time as coaches to take my handicap from 17 to 16, and then it goes back up to 19, because then I start thinking about
oh my gosh, I'm a player now.
Yeah.
I know how to golf.
It doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. I'm so glad that you play golf and that you're not great at it.
Yeah, I'm terrible.
You coach with a guy, or you know a guy, Justin Earl's a good player.
He is a good player. That's why I always invite him to be part of my foursome.
That's a good man
That's
right
good
there.
coaching.
That's good coaching. You betcha.
Recruiting.
You betcha. That's the scramble guy you want. So we're going to skip the next one and come back to it, but as far as the off season, we will this next question, and you've probably been asked in I don't know how it's affecting you so much, but with NIL stuff, and it's a big deal, right? As far as we hear a lot of it at the higher levels. We're talking millions of dollars to some of these places and the SECs and all of that. What does that look like for you guys, like at Drake University, as far as NIL stuff? I mean, what is that? Has it changed has it changed the way that you guys go about your business on a daily basis with your guys?
I mean, it has. Yes, it has. It's something you have to have now to continue to stay competitive. It just changes the whole dynamic of everything that you're doing. But by the way, we're passing the hat at the end of this.
Yep, we figured that.
I hope everybody got that memo.
Yep,
you were talking millions of dollars.
Well, we got the Confluence Board over here. We got Drake. So we're kind of draked out tonight.
Yeah,
so,
good job.
Okay. Yeah. So it's obviously changed it, and it's for the better or the worse. Or do you not?
I think it's fine. It's just a new element. Like everything in life, things change, and you have to adjust with it. And it's not going away.
Right.
I actually think it's not out there or anything. I just think I think it's eventually going to be where the schools are going to end up paying in some capacity the players themselves. I just think that's the way it's going with the TV contracts and things. I don't foresee that not being the case in the near future. We'll see where that goes, but it's not going away.
That's interesting. That's interesting. I'd love to dive into that more, but we've got more things to talk about, way more important. So, NCAA tournament team, you've been an assistant on multiple, you've been the head coach. Tell us about being the head coach, NCAA tournament team, and being right there in a couple of the games. Like, and not to bring things up in the past, but
you did.
But we did. But I have to, because that's what a good interview is, right? We got to make you. But talk to us about that, like, because that's something that we're watching at home and we're going, oh yeah, we're filling out our brackets. I'm like, oh, they got a good team and whatever. But you're in the moment, you're living it, and you're right there. But you've made it a couple years here. Hopefully, going to go again this year. Preseason favorites in the conference and all that. But tell us about NCAA tournament experience.
NCAA tournament, I mean, it's every kid's dream, you know, and the moment is exactly what they thought it would be.
It's that one shining moment.
Yes, everything that leads up to the game, and you know, for us, it's even better. We get a full week before the announcement, so when you win the conference tournament or wherever you know you're in, you get a whole week just to sit back and let everybody else sweat about whether they're going to make it or not, and you just see your name up on the board, and you get to sit back and have fun with it. But what an incredible experience for the players, coaches, all of us. Yeah, having been through it a number of times, I know one of the things, though, it's you get there and it's like you're almost in the awe of the moment. The whole key is to try to get past that and just get to that 40 minutes of competing and not get caught up in the lights and stuff. It sounds easy, but it's, you know, for high school kids or wherever you get in a state tournament, state championship game, it's easy to forget about why you're there and just, wow, this was fun, we made it, and you forget to, like, hey, we got to go, this is why we're here, and go do that.
How do you do that? Because that's an unbelievably great point, because it's really difficult to make it, right? There's only 68 teams now, but how do you get your guys to get past that, oh, we're here, and not just be satisfied, right? Because you as a coach, you know, you're never satisfied, and you've been there with different programs, but how do you get your guys to just
make something up to yell at them about, you know.
Right? Okay, that's good. Okay. Sure.
No, I know even our first year when we made the conference tournament championship, I felt like we were there. It wasn't like we didn't play hard or anything, but it was just a different vibe than our last year with a group of seniors. They were more into, like, they didn't care whether the championship game was. They were like, we're in these 40 minutes, and I thought they played like it, and you could tell they had been there before. Mm-hmm. And I know in talking to the Bradley coach afterwards, he kind of said the same thing. Your group had been there, they had more experience, and were ready, you know, not that they weren't, but just more ready for that moment of being able to go out there and kind of put all the distractions aside and go play, you know. Right,
and you said it best right there, go play. Because you've done all the work, and they've done it a million times. But it's like the old scene from Hoosiers, right? When they walk into Hinkle Fieldhouse and they measure the basket and all that. It's the same stuff. It's just a different venue, and so it's a culture thing for you as far as your guys and then your seniors taking care of business. Makes your job a little simpler.
Yeah, I think most kids, most teams, when they get themselves in trouble, is they start to play for the what if we lose, and the fear of losing, and you know, what if we don't get to, you know, have this moment, this championship, and that's when everything, you know, starts to tighten up. And I think it's more just like you said, just trying to find a way to stay in that moment and just win that possession and play it out that way, and not even talk about what the future is or think about it. And that's when you can get yourself in big trouble.
For sure. We've got a lot of parents in here, and we've got some kids of parents in here, and they've probably all coached youth basketball or AAU, and they've coached their kids. For you and Tucker, what's it like?
I think it's fine.
This is going to be a two-part question. What's it like? Obviously, he's a great player, and he's come a long ways, and we got to see him at Waukee, and you guys moved over here, and he's been great for Drake. What is it like on the daily for you, being Coach DeVries and not Dad? What does that look like?
I absolutely love it. For me, it's you know, when you're a coach coming up through it, I miss so much. You know, I didn't get to be there on a lot of weekend games, you know, fifth grade tournaments, and you know, whatever it might be. So there's a lot of his athletic, you know, career that I didn't get to see or be a part of. So now I get to, you know, kind of get a lot of that back, where I get to be on the day-to-day, where a lot of parents never get to experience any of that. And it's not even the games and not even the practices. It's you know, before and after the road trips, all those things that you know, as parents, you can all appreciate just those moments that you can't replicate, and that's the part that's been awesome for me. It's going too fast. I want it to last forever, but right. it's not. You know, he may say the exact opposite, but we've had a lot of fun with it, and we've tried to make it that way because we know this isn't going to last. You know, for more than, you know, the 4 years that he's here.
Does it ever carry over? Like, we're gonna go sit at the DeVries supper table, and Mama DeVries is there, does it ever carry over, and does she have to be like, hey, fellas, no more?
I've been grounded a few times, yes.
Okay, very good. I wondered, I like your honesty, because I figured that was probably the case, but that's awesome, man, and you guys have obviously been great. So what's it been like? I want to go back here a little bit. Why Drake? You left Creighton. Why Drake?
Yeah, I thought Drake, when I was at Creighton, I felt like Omaha and Creighton and the setup felt like it could be replicated in Des Moines. I loved everything about it, my comfort level with people that I knew within the community. I knew what everyone was about within the community, so I thought we could come in here and have some built-in networks of people from fan bases to recruiting and things that, if we could get it going, we could sustain something and try to build something pretty special. And most of all, I've really loved it. As you mentioned, my family, I have my sister lives in town, I have a brother who lives in town, I have another brother an hour away, another brother an hour and a half away, my parents are an hour and a half away, my wife's folks about 2 hours away, so
That's awesome.
it's a no-brainer in terms of, our enjoyment level and loving where we're at and what we're doing has been off the charts.
So it's a family affair, essentially. I mean, within the coaching, but and that's obviously a big part. Coming from a big family, being able to be closer, that's a huge piece for you, which is, so as far as building the program at Drake, 6 years now, where would you say you were, where would you say you are, and where would you say you want to go? When you got to Drake?
A little bit like we said earlier, I think you don't try to think too far into hey, we want to do this or we want to do that, or what if it starts going this way? To me, it's just about every single day just trying to do what we do and trying to do the best job we can with it. And I tell people this all the time, the results we're going to follow, based on the work you put in it and the commitment and all that stuff. Doesn't always mean you're going to win, but if you're doing it right and you feel like you poured everything into it, and we'll take our chances with that. So that's all we're continuing to try to do, is just to make sure whatever we believe in, we try to instill that every day in what we do, and hopefully it keeps me employed for a while.
Sure. No, and that's it's tongue in cheek, but it's always a thing. But you've had great success. What would you say, to go back, has probably been your biggest win at Drake?
The biggest one was this year, beating Bradley in the conference tournament championship. We just hadn't done that yet, so we hadn't been able to get over that line, so to speak. So that was a really fun one. The Wichita State game in the NCAA tournament was fun. There just wasn't anybody there to see it, so that made it less fun.
Right. So I know you can't control anything in the future and all that, but you won the conference championship game last year. So obviously, just the next step would be to win that NCAA tournament game.
Yeah, that would be ideal. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe if I had coached a little better last year at the end of the game, we wouldn't have to talk about that. You brought it up twice.
Well, that's why I get paid the big bucks to ask the hard questions. You thought we would skate by here.
Good job.
Fly by. So with that, what's your season look like as we...
Yeah, we're ready to get going. We open up Wednesday. So
the tickets available?
There are tickets available. Okay. Yeah, make you the ticket manager too.
Yeah.
Good job. So yeah, come to games if you can get over there. Tickets are easy to get. I like our team. They're a fun group. Again, I don't know what they mean wins and losses, but they play hard. They play together. They play the right way. So if you get a chance, come down and watch them.
I got a real quick question. It wasn't necessarily on the beginning of the sheet, but just because I'm a huge state of Iowa basketball fan and all that, and I watch Northern Iowa and Drake very closely. What is it like to coach in the Valley? Because I think the Valley is one of the most underrated and underappreciated conferences in the country. I think Arch Madness is one of the greatest postseason tournaments. What is it like to play, or I guess coach? Was the Valley when you were playing? So I guess you've done a little bit of both, playing and coaching in the Valley. What is it like to be a part of that conference that maybe in the eyes of everybody else it may not be appreciated as much as it probably should?
I think just how there's, from top to bottom, there's just not a lot of separation. It's what I think makes the Valley so special. And, a lot of games are decided by 2, 4, 6 points. And that's why it is, they're conference races, they're, especially now with 20 games. It's so hard to get through it. You got to have a little bit of luck along the way, but I just think the Valley basketball is incredibly competitive. Coaches do a great job with their teams, and there's really good players, and it's a lot of fun. Good fan bases as well on top of it.
I was going to mention, Coach, that you've been part of the Valley Basketball Conference longer than Brock's been alive.
Uh-oh.
And I'm already losing more hair than you are.
Your hair's still better, so that's terrific. We got a couple more questions, but one of the questions I wrote down here was, besides me, who's the most famous person you have in your phone? Like in your phone, like in your contacts, because you may be the most famous person I have in my phone, but I'm going to wait for you to answer. Outside of me, who's the most famous person you have in your contacts in your phone?
I don't really know that many cool people besides you.
I appreciate this, Coach. Thank you.
I mean, if you're going to lie, I just will lie to you. Right?
Come on, you got to have somebody in there.
I mean, mine are all coaches. So.
Well, I know. Let's give us one. Like, give us a guy like, hey, I'm just going to shoot him a text and see how it was.
Coach Otts.
Okay, well, there you go. You're playing to your crowd. I like that, Coach Otts.
I'm trying. I didn't even get an applause. You know?
We got some Iowa fans here, so we're kind of.
I got fans too.
We're Duke fans. Okay, well, I just had to ask because I see that a lot, and I'm like, I wonder who the most famous person that he has in his phone, just because.
Zach Johnson.
There you go. That's a good one. Being a golfer, and he's a Drake alum, and all that. There you go. I'd take that.
He doesn't help me with my golf swing anymore.
Well, I don't. Zach, I don't know. He's after the Ryder Cup stuff. He's not. I think you're more of the son of Iowa than he is right now. I'm just going to say that. You're the pride of Drake right now. So let's keep that rolling. All right. So the last thing we got is two truths and a lie. You know what this is? You're in education, right? So,
yeah.
Okay. So you got to give us two truths and a lie, and then we'll take a vote here. So go ahead. You got us three things, but one of them's.
All right.
Okay.
I had 2 career dunks, counting high school and college. That's my first one. My second one is I had shaved bomb squad in the back of my head for the state tournament. And the third one is I was a tennis state qualifier in high school.
So what qualifies as a dunk? Are we talking like rim grazer rattling in, or straight up?
Just kind of one hand, just.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had 2 career dunks. Who thinks that one is the lie? Okay. We don't have a lot of people think you're that athletic. The next one was you shaved bomb squad in the back of your head for the state tournament. Who thinks that one is the lie? Okay. And then you qualified for the state tennis tournament. Who thinks that one's a lie? I think that one's true. Coach, which one's a lie?
The dunks, I actually have 0.
Oh, man. Wow.
And I was giving myself like any leeway if I missed the one. It's still 0.
Still 0.
Yes.
Wow.
So
Did you
0.
dunk in practice?
No. And like you get to a point where it's like you don't even go. You just pull up from 12 feet and work on the bank shot.
Right.
Yeah.
Or just shoot the 3 because it's worth 3 instead of 2.
Yeah.
There you go. There you
just
go.
quit doing
So you're a tennis guy. Who's your favorite tennis player?
Andre Agassi.
There you go.
Yeah.
I
I had to go out for tennis because Coach Thomas, if you didn't go out for track, and you basically you had to, or you had to go out for something. I was terrible at track, just like dunking. So I went out for tennis in the spring.
And you qualified for the state tennis.
Yeah, but people must have been bad. Because I wasn't very good at that either.
Oh, that's awesome though. That's
I
terrific.
played it like ping pong. I got a little short rack and just.
So are you a pickleball guy now?
Just ping pong.
Just ping pong.
I played pickleball once. Yeah.
Okay. Coach, I want to touch on Appleton Parkersburg. What was that like when that tornado went through there and all that? What was that like for you personally? It's where you grew up, where you're from. I mean, obviously it was all over the news, and then obviously with Coach Thomas, and that was all within a very short amount of time. And I'm assuming you and Aaron Thomas are pretty close yet still, because he went to Drake, I believe, right, and played. And I know Aaron a little bit through JO, but what was that like? You talked earlier about small town stuff and how we had the derecho that went through here in 2020, and nothing like that went up there and with Coach Thomas, but it was a pretty traumatic experience for us in this town, and it looked like a war zone, as you can imagine. But the community came together and got things going in right. You obviously weren't there at the time when the tornado went through, but what was that like for you? I mean, just on a personal level, I guess.
I remember vividly, it was Memorial Day weekend. We were driving home from Davenport, where my wife's from, and we got to Des Moines, and then we heard about the tornado, so we stopped and we went to home, and incredibly devastating, like to see what the damage was. I had a college roommate, his house was completely destroyed, and he's got his family covered up, and he's telling the story, and he's got cuts on his back. About the only thing left in their house was their washer and dryer, where they just happened to be in the middle of the house. So, unbelievable, the devastation and the loss of life, and probably very fortunate there wasn't more, to be honest. But to see the town rally around it, as you've mentioned, it's again, it's what small towns do, and it's not even. It wasn't just happening in Parkersburg. There were people from Dyke and Grundy and New Hartford, every town around the community, coming to help and pitch in and things. You saw a lot of people with chainsaws that probably shouldn't have had chainsaws, right. Trying to help out. Right. But town's recovering and
absolutely, and growing. You mentioned earlier about small town and some of the best memories you have. Is there anything better than really? I mean, you've from AP to where you're at now, and doing pretty good. Obviously, and with your brother being in the league, and some pretty good success stories. But being from that small town and those values, what'd that give you? How'd that get you to kind of where you're at and where you're going?
Yeah, it just teaches you a lot. I know you got some boys here playing that you don't really appreciate until it's all done, and you go back and it's like I have people that, because a lot of times now you go to a game, there'll be the parents and maybe a neighbor or something, and you go to small towns, it's like everybody's coming to the game, and at the time you just thought that was normal, and it's not. Just how people just come and support you, and the kids in the community, and support each other as well. So, similar to this, you get local restaurant and bar, and people show up and support it, and it's what makes it really, really cool.
Absolutely. And you being here helps that a lot, Coach. And again, we can't stress enough how grateful we are that you took the time out of you got a big season coming up here, and obviously we wish you nothing but the best. I'm going to try to get down at some games since you are my favorite team. So, and I'll be looking at
two players, but
I know Tucker.
A good start.
And I know the head coach, so I feel like I'm pretty good terms there.
There we go.
And I knew some of them, but I forgot. I'm old. But anyway, Coach, again, thank you, man, for being up here, coming up, and come see us again. Come have the burger. But, man, we sure appreciate you being here, and these people appreciate you, and thanks for your time, man.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Good luck to the boys and girls teams this year as well.
Coach Darian, DeVries, guys. Thanks.
He was talking about getting the sympathy vote from his mom. I think my parents did that tonight, showing up tonight for this event. Usually, we at our family, we call it the bottom of the totem pole, and that's kind of where I sit.
I have heard that. You've told me that, Brock.
Yeah, so
you're the middle child, though, right?
Yeah. Sometimes I forget they do, too.
Okay. All right.
But no.
All right.
Yes, we have one of our head coaches for winter season's girls basketball head coach, Kelly Anderson.
Come on up, Coach.
remember things. So. I love the fact that you made me go after Coach DeVries. It makes me look real good here. So. And I hope you don't. Oh, you do. I was going to say, don't put a picture up there of me.
We appreciate you coming on, I guess, the show. And I just like Coach DeVries, quick little background on how you got to Ballard.
Well, hometown is Scranton, if anybody knows where that is, about 45, 50 minutes on Highway 30 going to the west. Very small town, 700 when Nancy and I were there. Small school building where K through 12 were all in the same building. Those days don't really exist anymore, but that was kind of cool, really, when you go back to it. So from there, went to Morningside. At least I say I played at Morningside, played football at Morningside. We both graduated from Morningside also, and then got hired at Central Webster, which is up by Fort Dodge. We both taught and coached, and again, you go back to 1980, things were a little different than they are today. And you're foolish when you're young and you agree to everything. And I taught PE and health, and Nancy taught business. I coached football, basketball, and track, all head boys varsity. And that's nothing compared to Nancy never played volleyball, started the volleyball program. Was an assistant basketball coach for the girls team, had junior high basketball, and she had junior high track also. So needless to say, when summertime rolled around, we were ready to do nothing. So did that. She was a little smarter than I. She got out of teaching after 4 years. We decided we were going to move to Ames. Did that. Heard nothing. This is the truth. We lived in Ames, and people told us in Ames to go to Ballard. If you have kids, send them to Ballard. Much better school, great people, blah, blah, blah. So that's what we did. And then came down. I was managing fitness center. Job opened up here at Ballard. Then I came down. Steve Horning interviewed me in about 15 minutes and got hired. It was about 2 weeks before school started. So that was my start. How I got started here, and it was 6-on-6 basketball at the time. I'd never coached girls before, never wanted to coach girls, but that again was one of the options, was to have 8th grade girls basketball. So did that and got my start, and sorry guys, but I would never coach boys again after having girls. So that kind of got us to here. So
awesome. And I mean, Ballard has had great history with girls basketball, and a lot because of your help along with other coaches in the past, like Coach Overding and all that. What has led to the success and how you guys were able to build the program that you guys have today?
Well, it's funny that you bring up Merle Overding, because that's my first answer. We've had the success because Merle got this whole thing started back 30 years ago, and I think this is the 30th year of 5-on-5 basketball. He came in and he developed a culture and basically stayed with that whole thing. I remember him telling me that when he was going to take the job, that he went in to Steve and said, you got to make sure that you back me, because I'm probably going to ruffle some feathers, but this is, I think, the right way to do it. And he did, and definitely it's kind of panned out that way. Was his assistant for 3 years before I became the head coach. And I had background in the head coaching, but learned a lot from him in those 3 years. And it was just, okay, Kelly, don't screw it up. Come in and keep the train on the tracks and try and keep it going forward. And we've tried to do that the best we can. I would say it was funny because when you ask that question and you say the word success, that can mean a lot of different things. And so I had Darren Harold, who is an assistant of mine. I said, just put, in the last 30 years, put together the numbers, the different things that have gone on in that amount of time. And so that's what's on my paper up here. Overall record is 601 wins, 128 losses, winning percentage of 82%, average of 20 wins a season. 17 state appearances, 2 state titles, 2 runner-ups, and 21 conference titles. So, so like I said, we've just tried, Merle got it going, and we've tried to keep it going. We've had great kids that have played for us, great assistants. One of them that we used to have sitting out here in the crowd tonight with Kelvin, and that's how you do it. You have to establish a culture, and you stay with that, and that's kind of what we've done.
Yeah, and you mentioned all the winning and the success. And this might make this question a little hard. What is your favorite moment that you've had while coaching here, or moments, if you want to list a couple?
Well, there you go. It's not one. There's many. I mean, you have all kinds of those types of things, but I'm gonna mention 2, and I'll kind of tell you why these 2 stick out. But my first year, you always remember your first year and your first team. When Merle left and I came in, we did not have one starter coming back that year. But that group was the last group that I had in 8th grade. So we had a really nice connection. They knew me, I knew them, got along great, and they were pretty determined. They weren't the most athletic team that we've had go through this school, but they played extremely hard and did everything that we asked them to do. It was, you could kind of tell the association was probably a little tired of Ballard being at the state tournament. You can always tell if they give you a good route or they don't give you a good route, and we did not have a good route. We, second game of regionals, we had to go play South Tama, who was ranked 3rd or 4th in the state that year. Had to go over there for the second game. We weren't supposed to win. They had it all set up for them to try and get there, and they had a 6'4" girl that was going to Iowa State. I had a 5'8" girl going against her, and my 5'8" girl outplayed her the entire game. Emily Larkin hits a 3 with no time left on the clock, and we win by 2. Pretty special moment on that one. And that kind of, I was scared to death. That first year I was scared to death. We'd gone 6 years in a row, and here Kelly's going to come in and we're not going to make it to the state tournament. And so there was a little pressure, there was, to try and keep that going, and thank goodness for the group I had got us there. Went down as the 8th seed, played the 1 seed, and we beat the number 1 team the first game, then got our rear ends kicked in the second one. We didn't care. We had done what we needed to do. So that was a pretty special moment because that kind of kept things going in the right direction. The other one is, as most of you probably know, in 2021 when we won the state championship, and Josie hit a pretty special shot down there. But also, you talk about success and you talk about different things, and the word I always use with everybody is trust. And if you don't have trust with your team, you know, if the girls don't trust me and I don't trust them, and so on and so forth, then you really don't have much. So I'm going to tell you exactly how it went down with 30 seconds left, and we have a timeout, and we go to our bench, and this is how it worked, and this is all about trust when you do things like this. So they sat down, and I go, girls, we're not going for the tie, we're going for the win, and every head went up and down. Yep, we're in agreement on that. I looked at Josie in the eye and I said, Josie, you're going to hit a 3. She looked back at me and said, yes, I will. And then I looked at this guy and said, drop the play. So I had all kinds of trust in Josie. I knew he was going to drop a great play. He did. We just didn't plan on her taking it 3 feet beyond the NBA line. And I still can't believe I hit nothing but net on that one. But that was pretty cool because that was the second one. You know, you win one state championship in your program, that's pretty neat. But when you win that second one, it kind of validates everything that you're doing, what you need to be doing. So you kind of hit that on the head, saying there's not one moment, it's a couple of them, and those two were pretty good.
One of the things about the state tournament that I don't always like is that the NBA three-point line is there, and
you don't see many girls shooting inside of it.
yes. And I remember news stations were like literally talking about how, yep, the NBA three-point line was right there, and she's 3 feet or so behind it, and nothing but net. But yes, that was a great moment. And again, just keep going on the success with this program. How have you been able to continue that culture and continue to stay competitive year after year, especially in the Raccoon River Conference, which I think arguably is probably the toughest or one of the toughest in the state?
It is the toughest 4A in the state, and a lot of people don't want to believe us, but when we get together and we do all conference picks or whatever, we all talk about that. It's very hard. It's hard to get through that and win it. So that's another thing that we're very proud of with the number of times that we won the conference. With me, it's, as everybody knows, and it's not, go back to Iowa football, it's defense. Okay, yeah. Our offense is a little bit better, okay? But it's, you know I'm an Iowa fan, yeah. So that's, oh my word, Saturdays are killing me these days. But that's kind of my thing. That's why I enjoyed having Kelvin. Kelvin's an offensive guy, and so I just used him all the time. And I'm on the defensive end. I'm strong believer in it, have been forever. I really like it when we do get to the state tournament and they flash up before the games, they put up the stats and they talk about how the other team who we normally play is the highest scoring team in the state, and then there's Ballard who has the defensive lowest point total for the year, and we tend to win out a lot with that side of it. So, and we have girls that buy into it. If they didn't buy into it, it wouldn't work. But I'd say that's why we've kind of continued, at least through the 12 years, 13 years that we've been going. But you mentioned the conference. You're one of the reasons why that we do so well in the conference, and that's our MVP club. What we do is, and Merle started this a long time ago, and we just continued to do it, is that we find high school boys that aren't out for basketball, that still like to play a little bit, and we bring them in. They're an MVP club, and they go against our girls, and they're bigger, faster, and stronger than any team that we go against during the year. So they are probably as important as anything that we do with our program. And, yeah.
I almost hit you once with an airball three. I'm not gonna lie.
I think you did.
I'll never forget, I got asked to do that by Coach Smith and Coach Adams, and I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I showed up, and the first drill that you guys do with the MVP crew is called zigzag, and all it is just ball handling, playing defense, wall, and then on the other end, just trying to get by the defender, or you're playing defense trying not to let the player get by. And
we actually let you do that?
You guys paired me up with Meg Reitz the first time, and if anybody knows Meg Reitz, she has one of the nastiest crossovers ever. And Kelvin looks right at her and says, "Break him." And and this is 5 minutes into the first practice, and I'm like, what? She went first crossover. I didn't fall, but I didn't move. And I was like, yep, this is going to be a long practice. But no, not going to lie, being a part of that MVP crew was one of my favorite memories in high school. And like, I still talk with some of my friends I graduated that was a part of that crew and how fun it was to be a part of that team. And
well, and they are, and that's what we try to make them feel that way. They're a big part of the success that we do have. So even though you weren't very good, you were part of it. So
it was the only time I was allowed to shoot beyond 15 feet, and I didn't have to run for punishment if I did. So, but going off of the rise of women's basketball, basically throughout the whole country, and I mean, a lot of people, you being an Iowa fan, would know the Caitlin Clark effect, as a lot of people are calling it. Have you seen that effect take over in your program or throughout the state? I personally, being a huge fan of basketball. I always pay attention to state basketball throughout the state, both boys and girls, and it seems like the popularity in the sport's growing. And have you seen that within your program and throughout the state as well?
That's really interesting that you bring that up. I think with Caitlin, it's probably going to be a situation where you don't see that necessarily now, but probably in the future with the younger kids coming up. Because I spent last Saturday at our clinic, the IBCA clinic that we have, and they had a breakout session, and one of the sessions was for high school girls basketball coaches, and why is the participation number going down? And so I thought that was really good, because our numbers are the lowest. That we have 15 girls that signed up this year, lowest we've ever had. And so I went to that and really curious, and the room was full when we were there, and we aren't the only one. It's across the board. And so the first statement that was made with the gentleman that got up that was running it said that since 1995 until now, participation for girls basketball is down 54%. And they said it's not a jagged line like this. It is a straight, steep drop. And so I'm hoping that she has an effect, like I said, on the younger people, to get more involved and what have you. I mean, we're really good at the middle school with our numbers, and I think beyond that. But we've just had a stretch where there's just a lot of options for kids these days. That's kind of what came out of the meeting, is that there's actually, I think, too many choices for them today. And so you can't blame kids for doing that. I mean, there's just they want to do what they want to do, and more power to them. But it's a little difficult right now. But I think we'll probably get through that, and I would think start to see numbers go back up. Yeah.
Hopefully we can see the number raise up for sure. One of the things that has changed a lot of, I mean, every team at some point had to deal with this change last couple of years, was the introduction of the shot clock. And I'm kind of curious, and I mean, we'll ask Coach Schertz about this later on too. How has that changed how you guys prepare for games? I know year one may have been a difference than preparing for year two, since there would have been a year under everybody's belts. But how has that changed how you guys prepare for games and how you guys handle the offense or even defensive side of the ball?
I think they put this in because of me. Because a lot of people did not like us with 1:30 to go in the quarter, and we would hold it and hold it and hold it. And I just love, I going back and watching the Glenwood game way back when, and at the end of the first quarter, there was 1.5 minutes left, and we pull, and I all I have to say is we just take one shot. I don't call a play or whatever. Our kids are really good about doing that. And so they pulled it out, and they passed, and all of a sudden you hear boring, boring coming from Glenwood. And then with 3 seconds left, we hit a three. And I wanted to stand up and say, that's really boring to see something like that. But I think that's what they wanted to get away from, to be very honest. They wanted to speed the game up a little bit. They didn't want people to just hang on to the ball and try and win a game that way, and that's fine. We don't prepare any differently now. We just speed our shot up at the end of the quarter or half or whatever it might be. We set a goal of 2 to 3 where we want to get a shot clock violation on the other team, is what we do. But other than that, I don't think it's had, Jeff, I know we'll ask you about that, but I don't think it's had much effect at all on the game.
I got a question for you, Coach. The new rule change this year with fouls. They go to the college rule. What's that look like for you guys? Is that going to impact you at all? I mean, it should help the flow of the game a little bit more, but as far as foul trouble, as far as getting into the bonus early, how does that, I mean, it's obviously brand new.
Right, and we'll find out this year kind of how all that goes and how it plays out. Takes a lot of pressure off a lot of girls that don't have to shoot a one-on-one anymore from that standpoint. But yeah, I don't know that that'll be much of a change or a big difference either. I'm anxious to see how it plays out this year too. Yeah.
Yeah, and then really the last question is more about what has been your takeaway or experience from the stuff that we've been able to do with this live stream, being able to live stream games for people that aren't able to make it, and what can we do to improve? Do we need to, is there a way that we can do to help promote you guys even more?
Well, you do a great job. Brock, you're so valuable to our school and what you've done. Yeah, it's been incredible. Classic example is Nancy's mom is 93 years old, assisted living in Jefferson, Iowa, and she kind of lives for this. It's a great thing. She can't see anything right here, but she can hear really well. So you can put that on and she can enjoy all that, and that's the greatest thing in the world. I'm a pessimist. Anytime anything comes out, I go, what's wrong? What's the bad stuff? And then I come back to the good stuff. And so when you first did this, I go, okay, so people are going to start staying home. They're going to watch it from home. We're not going to get people in the stands, and that was the dumbest thing that I ever could have thought, because that's not what it's not meant to do that, and it doesn't. So we still pack the gym, and we have great people in this community and great following. But who it's for is exactly that, and they get enjoyment where they wouldn't get it. So.
I appreciate it. I guess last thing is 2 truths and a lie.
This was really interesting. Okay, here we go. So 3, okay. Number 1 is I played a football game in Mexico City. Number 2 is in first grade, I was sitting at my desk, first day of school, and this cute little thing walked through the door, and it happened to be my wife, and I thought she was hot in first grade, and I chased her for a long time. That's kind of an easy one. Third one is my senior year at Scranton. I led the state, and then this one they didn't have classes. They combined everybody, the Dowlings to the Scrantons together, and I led the state in receptions and yardage for football.
All right. So first one. Anybody think that playing a football game in Mexico City is the lie? All right. Second one of meeting his now wife in first grade. One person.
You think that's a lie?
And then leading the state in receptions in yardage, or just
receptions and yardage.
Receptions and yardage in football.
Come on, guys.
So what's the what's the lie?
The lie is the last one. I was number 2. I wasn't number 1.
So we got to know what were you doing in Mexico City for a football game?
That was a trip and a half, and that's when I was at Morningside. They picked us, and they picked Wisconsin Whitewater, and they said that what they were trying to do was promote football in Mexico, and so they wanted 2 teams to go down and play, and that was probably the worst experience I've ever had in my life. They put us in the Olympic Village, the old Olympic Village that they used down there. We had armed guards, had guns that we walked by these guys every day, ate nothing but bread and drank Coke the entire time I was down there because we couldn't stand the food that they were feeding us there. And you can't drink the water. One poor soul did. And as we're buses going to the game, he's got his head out the window and it's flying everywhere. And then at halftime, they took us back into where the bulls would come out. It was a bullfighting arena. And so you couldn't see, you could only smell, and it was awful. And we got beat. So.
Well, Coach, thanks again for taking the time to speak with us. Good luck this season. First regular season game is the 17th, right? Against DCG, which will be a good game for sure. Well, good luck.
Hey, yeah, folks, we're going to take like a couple minutes here before we bring Coach Schertz up. If you want some more food, get something to drink, help yourselves go to the bathroom. We're going a little long, but feel free to kind of get up, and we'll reconvene in about, 2 minutes. 7:35.
Okay. All right, we'll get things going here.
Got notes and everything. I love that.
Well, it was just All right, folks, we're going to get this show started here. Brock and Coach Schertz are going to get rolling here. So if you want to go ahead and grab a drink, and feel free to walk around if you want to get a drink or food while we're going up here. But we're going to kind of get this going so we can get you out of here at a decent time.
All right, so this is actually one of the first times that the guest is already sitting here before I can introduce you, but Coach Jeff Schertz, everyone. Head boys varsity basketball coach for the Ballard Bombers. Born and raised in Alabama, right?
Grew up in Alabama.
Grew up in Alabama?
Since the first grade, born in the D.C. area,
Okay.
just outside of D.C.
So how does one get from D.C. area to Alabama? I think you had a pit stop in Memphis, right?
Nashville.
Nashville, okay.
Tennessee.
And now Huxley, Iowa. How does one get here?
So parents' jobs. We moved to South Florida for a short period of time, and then to Huntsville. My dad got a job. I was in the first grade, and we moved there. And so that's home. We've got a lot of extended family in the D.C. area, but grew up in Huntsville. Ended up going to Grissom High School, and went to Auburn. Got my degree there in education, in math education, and I thought I might want to do engineering, but learned pretty quickly that I had more of an appetite for this kind of stuff, working with people, with youth, wanting to teach, wanting to kind of be, like, I had a mentor growing up. He was one of my coaches, and actually just 2 weekends ago, I drove down to Alabama to see him. He's not doing well right now. So I kind of felt like I could be that potentially, but also really wanted to stay involved with athletics and things that are competitive. That's kind of a common theme with me in some at times, and so went into education that way, and wanted to coach, wanted to teach, and was at my alma mater for 11 years and met my wife. So that's how that happened. We met at a triathlon in North Alabama. She was in Nashville at the time. In kind of, if you don't really know, it was about a 2-hour drive. So Nashville to Huntsville, basically all interstate. And with my time during the day, outside of the season, I could leave 3:30, whenever the school day ended, and I could be at her apartment before she even got home from work. So I did the majority of the driving, going to see her. We did the long distance thing for, roughly 2 years. At the end of that second year, had some, mature adult conversations and decided that, we were going to get married and that kind of thing. And so the timing was important because I wanted to continue to be a head coach, or at minimum continue to coach. And so I looked for jobs in that March, April timeframe in that Nashville area. Fortunately, it's a big area. And there were a number of opportunities, some of which, I kind of got in a little bit on, and others not at all. Had maybe 2 interviews, I think, and got a job just outside of Nashville, about 20 minutes down the interstate in the neighboring county. Pat Summit is from Cheatham County, Tennessee, which is the county west of Nashville, which is Davidson County. And at one of those high schools there, I became the varsity boys head coach, taught, lived there for 2 years. And then Joy's job, she's from Carroll. She grew up in Carroll, Iowa. But the job she has now, the job that she got out of Nashville, was at McFarland Clinic in Ames. And so that's what brought us here. So we're not moving around for my job. She said, we got an opportunity in Iowa, and I was like, sounds good, let's go. So that's kind of the short version of that long story.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you had a little time to adjust to the weather with being in Nashville for a little bit to prepare you a little bit for the colder times. But I mean, what was your first Iowa winter like?
I liked it, and I still like it. I like the 4 seasons are way better. Okay, when the wind chill gets really cold, that's not fun. But no, it sucks. It's terrible. But that's why I coach an indoor sport. Okay, so I just got to get from the car to the building. I enjoy the snow. I enjoy the summers here. They are brutal in Alabama. The stuff that we get here, that's like 3 days of kind of you sweat going from your car to the building. It's like 3 months of that.
That's sweaty.
Yeah, so the 4 seasons, the winters are fine, whatever. I like the snow, that's kind of cool, get to play in that. And I like the weather better, honestly, here than in Alabama.
I love it. I'm personally a big winter guy because, I wear shorts in the winter. So
I can do a little bit of skiing and boom.
Yep.
So,
But before you came to Ballard, you had a pit stop with Iowa State, and you were a student manager, right?
Yeah.
And can you talk a little bit about that experience and how it shaped you as a coach, and if you took anything away from that?
Yeah, it was a really interesting the way it materialized. A lot of those guys, when Prome was there, Coach Prome, were from the South. Greg Garner was a GA at Iowa State. He played basketball in Huntsville at the Division II college there. And when I was in Huntsville, I used to open our high school gym for the UAH players, Greg, some of the others. And so I knew we were moving up here about a year and a half before, maybe a year before we actually, before it materialized. So I started asking. I wanted to continue to be involved in basketball. Well, I told you I went to school to teach math. About 6 years into my teaching, I took the praxis in PE and passed that. So I was certified in both, math and PE. Well, Iowa does not recognize that form testing into certification, the state of Iowa Department of Ed. So when we were moving here, I was like, well, I'm not ever going to quit a job to go back to school full time. So the decision was made, I'm going to take classes, 32 credit hours of undergrad, how to teach PE classes as a 35-year-old. I'm going to do that my first year. That way I've got both, I'm good to go. Then you go back to Greg Gardner. One of Prome's assistants was an assistant for Lenny Acuff at UAH. By the way, Lenny is who Drake is playing this Wednesday. And Coach DeVries was like, that is not somebody you want to open up with because of what they do and all that kind of stuff. But anyhow, so I was a full-time student at Iowa State, which basically made me kind of free help. I'm not qualified to be an assistant or anything like that with them. And also, to kind of take all these spots and connect them here, when I was in Nashville, the coach at Belmont, Rick Bird, was really good to high school coaches that would come around and we'd go to their camps and he'd spend time to talk with you and all of that kind of stuff. And so I went and asked Coach Bird for advice, and he was like, well, I'll call Coach Prome. So we moved here. I worked camp, talked with Greg, those kind of things. Hey, I'm going to be a full-time student. Like I wasn't going to get a job teaching because I was going to go take classes. Was possibly going to help out at Ames High as an assistant or at Gilbert, and I was starting to explore the areas, but the Iowa State stuff materialized, and so I got to do that. Now, that wasn't your question, but it was a master class in ball screen offense. There were a lot of really good players there at the time. I mean, probably the whole starting lineup's playing professionally. A lot of these guys go play professionally. It's just not in the NBA. But just getting to see how Coach DeVries, that group of people works and operates and relates to the kids, the players, and then they've got all this other stuff going on. There's so many things that they've got to manage that on social media or whatever, people are chirping about all this, that, and the other, but they've just got the way they go about their business is just, was really cool to see firsthand.
Yeah, and I mean, you happen to be a part of a very successful Iowa State team, won the Big 12 tournament championship that year. And then Ballard, the job opened up. Former head coach Chris Deason retired after almost 20 years.
I think it was about right at 20.
Right at 20, with Ballard as the head coach. How did you find this opportunity? What went through your mind when you're like, Ballard Smalls, because you've been in some big towns to coach, Ballard's 4 towns combined. What went through your mind, and how did that all materialize?
The first way it happened was we were looking, my wife found it on the state site that it was posted and was open. And little did I know, and super lucky, I truly feel like this is the best job in the drive. Like I said, we're not moving from me, like in a reasonable drivable area, that was the one that was open. Fortunately, I'm maybe not at one of these other schools, thinking back then. So we found it on the site and applied for it and got a couple letters of recommendation, got an interview, and, things have worked out.
Yeah.
Good thing you didn't get the Gilbert job.
Yeah, we're very lucky to have you. And I mean, had some great success right away. I think one of the things that Chris did a great job is he didn't leave the cabinet really empty. You had some great players to start out, and as you guys went on, you guys had success, some state tournament runs, conference championships. How have you as a coach evolved over time throughout the years, from starting out with, again, very big success coming off of a state tournament and being able to grow from that?
I think I thought that I would never leave Grissom. I was there for 11 years, and maybe it would have been great to have stayed there for 20, 25, 30 years, whatever. But it's also been a really cool experience to have been at different places as a head coach, but also as an assistant. And I say all that because I took over at Grissom, and when I was a student there, my senior year, we were really good. And then some stuff happened. The coach was no longer allowed to coach there, and it kind of took this dip. And over the history of that school, it's kind of gone up and down. I think as the school's won 2 state championships. But then coming into Nashville was a different situation. The coach left to go to his alma mater, and then coming in here, it was a situation where we were, like you said, the cupboard was not bare. We were trying to just continue some success and tradition and that kind of thing. So I've had different experiences, whether it was continuing or maybe rebuilding a little bit or changing a few things that needed changing. And so coming in here, it was, I thought, well, let's try to elevate in some form or fashion, but also hold on to the things that we do well, that we like, that we, that were established by coach. As far as evolving as a coach, I think, and yes, they sent the questions out, so I had a few notes, but I'm also kind of just talking here. One thing that I go back to is trying to do what's appropriate for any given situation. And in high school sports, that the coach, unlike Coach DeVries, whatever, has less control over the roster, over the recruiting, or the whatever, right? And so while we do try to stick to a core, like me, as a coach, the name of the offense or the defense has changed a little bit over time, but the core, like principles of play and that kind of stuff, has kind of stayed the same. So on any given year, we're 60 or 70% the same, and I'm not married to those two numbers, but it's, we lost 2 guys off of last year's team. So you might think, well, it's kind of there are a lot of the same returning, but we're very different. So what's best for this group, what's able to continue on in the future, so we're not constantly changing every year. So that evolution as a coach, like I take in a ton of information and then might only spit about 10% of it out, to our guys or to our team. So that if you want more of a specific answer, my first 3 years, we played with the ball side block occupied. We've changed that last year and more so this year to where the ball side block will be empty. There'll be a guy in the dunker spot creating a different type of spacing template and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the things that you've invested a lot of time in is building this youth program and camps that you guys have had. What have you done really, I guess, so for the people that may not know, what have you done to invest your time into the high school program as well as the youth program?
Well, I think about the high school program, even though it's not literally a year-round program, because of other sports, vacations, being a kid, all that kind of stuff, we have a plan throughout the year. There's even though we don't do it in person in a room, like a classroom, we have a book study and things that our freshmen get to be involved in. And so every kid has read, every player has read the QBQ, which is a book that stands for the question behind the question. So all the incoming freshmen get to do that each year. We try to get better over the summer, playing competitions, practice, and that kind of thing. And of course, there's rules that govern this kind of stuff. And then, when it's time for basketball, we try to make it as exciting as possible, for the winter season. As far as the youth go, I call it Bomber Ball, and we did a camp my first year. I got the job, and Coach Deason was like, "Hey, congrats, you got a camp in 3 weeks." I was like, "Okay, let's do it." And I would call that more of a traditional camp, where you spend 4 days in the summer in the gym, and then maybe you don't see those kids again until the following summer. And so one of the notable things that I've changed is we quit doing that. First of all, those are long days, because we would practice our high school guys as well. But I want to see the kids, whether it's third graders or seventh graders or whatever, more often. And so we would take, like we're doing one right now. We went Tuesday, Thursday. Then because of scheduling issues, we went this past Friday, and then we're going to go Tuesday, Thursday again. So we'll work on a concept or a skill, play 3-on-3. So essentially, it's camp, but spread out over the course of a few days, and we do that a couple times a year. So we don't just hit them with it once, but multiple times a year. We hosted a 3-on-3 tournament this past August. I'd like to maybe do another one over Christmas, and that's just coming in and playing. We'll connect. We'll have the former players referee and be around, and I've even had some of them work or help work the Bomber Ball stuff, and that's a really cool thing. With you got the future, you got the current guys, and then you got the past guys all being able to be around in some form or fashion. I think that it's fun. It's got some continuity, and it's part of what makes it important too.
For sure. We asked Coach Anderson this question, and I mean, through watching your guys' games and broadcasting over the years, I don't know if it's really changed how you guys may be prepared for games, but how has the shot clock and the putting shot clock into the state of Iowa changed how you guys prepare games, if it has at all?
I think it's been great, first of all.
Okay.
They're roughly, and I should have looked this up, but there are probably 30 states that still don't use it. Iowa was not at the forefront of that, but Iowa usually is not far behind. They're not whoever they at Boone office. They're not unwilling to make changes, which is great. There's other states that just dig in and by God we're going to do it how we've always done kind of thing. I think it's awesome for the game. As far as prep, we do think a little bit about 2-for-1 situations. And then what do you do at the end of a clock? What do you do in the last 10 to 12 seconds? So you've got to have a plan for that. It's been great for the game because you can't just stand there and hold the ball. No one wants to see games that finish 4-2 or whatever, or 13-10. That's not fun to watch. Now, holding the ball at the end of a clock or at the end of the game, we used to do some of that. I felt like if we were up 4 to 6 points with under 4 minutes to go, we'd really spread it out, hold the ball, but we would try to score. And so, as opposed to just holding it for the sake of holding it, we wouldn't do that. We would try to really spread them out and still go to score. Well, of course, you can't do that now. So it's changed the game in that you can't hold the ball, and it's changed the very end of the game, the last 3 to 5 minutes. You got to keep playing. I'm sure if I was to go back and think real hard, we maybe lost a game because of that, but we almost won one at Winterset because of that as well last year. We were down big. It was maybe 20, and they had to keep playing. We turned them over a few times, and we hit a few shots, and all of a sudden, the pressure turned up a little bit. So I think it's great. I would love for it to go to 30. I wouldn't even mind if it went to 24. It's also really good, and I would love for it to trickle down to the lower levels too, anything below varsity. I know in Europe, high schoolers for sure play with the 24, and even some middle schoolers. So the amount of touches throughout a game, if you think about that, over the course of time is double, or one and a half times as many as you would get if the pace was slower and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I mean, wrapping up real quick, what has been your experience or thoughts on how we've been producing the live streams, the broadcast for you guys, and is there anything that we can do to help improve on that and get you guys' name out there?
I think this has been awesome. I was talking to somebody before I came up here, like, this is really cool. And I don't know if it was Varsity Blues or whatever, where they all gathered together to fire the coach. So I was saying, as long as I'm not coming here to get fired tonight, this is awesome. You know, so whatever you get paid, it's not enough, and it ought to be more. Okay, and I really mean that. The value of it, like Coach Anderson said, you know, my mom in Alabama, my wife's parents, who used to be from Carroll, but they live in Texas now, they watch every game. And so that's really cool. We've done this, I don't know, once or twice where there's been an interview, you know, at halftime of a girls' game or at the end of I think it was the game to go to state.
Yep.
1 year. Like, that kind of stuff's cool. And I have no problem doing that. I think, you know, bringing the players in, you know, talking to the coaches, I don't know if people listening like that or not, but I sure don't mind doing that kind of stuff. But no, it's been this is not in every place. This does not happen everywhere, and it was not, and I don't believe is currently at either of the two places I used to be, and so I think we're pretty fortunate.
Well, 2 truths and 1 lie.
Okay, so I have raced.
Okay. Yeah.
I have raced an Ironman triathlon. I won a fishing tournament in Gunnersville, Alabama. And the third one is I could dunk, not in a game, but in a gym off of a self alley-oop, just barely. 10-foot rim? It was a regulation gym, a legitimate place of basketball, and it was not 8 foot, and we didn't get out the measuring tape after it happened. If it happened, if that's...
So, who thinks the first one winning a triathlon is...
Not winning, just
running.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think you can win one.
Who thinks that? Can I comment in a few minutes? Because
Yeah.
I don't want to ruin
Yeah. Who thinks that's the lie? All right. Who thinks winning a fishing tournament? And who thinks it's dunking off of self alley-oop? All right, what's the lie?
The fishing tournament is the lie.
Okay.
I do not enjoy fishing. I enjoy catching, but not fishing. But no, that's the lie. So the truths are the other two.
So what goes into preparation for a triathlon?
A lot. Depends on the distance.
I don't think I'm really made for one.
Well, that's what I met my wife at one at a sprint/Olympic triathlon, which lasts, I don't know, an hour to 2.5 hours. Stuff you go and do in a day, but the others are a much longer distance, and I guess that's technically partially a lie. My wife and I have both done 4. But I didn't want to get into all those details.
And then, what was the moment like getting that dunk?
That was kind of cool. But yeah, it had to be the perfect pass. I've missed plenty of them, and the goals were at the heights they've always been, and they were at gyms we would go play in. And so, yeah, it barely got in there.
Hey, I'm someone that couldn't jump over a phone book, so hey, as long as you can do that. And then you mentioned you basically let your wife dictate where you're going to live, and I'm keeping notes for future if I need to with that kind of stuff. But thanks again. Good luck this season. When's your first regular season game?
So we're generally boys basically a week behind girls as far as starting practice. I mean, that's actually it's one Monday after. We play Norwalk. I think it's the Tuesday. We do, Norwalk's got something where we would split and do like a Monday, Tuesday. I think the JV and freshman would go play one of those. So it's, I don't know the date. It's 2 weeks after we start practicing.
Well, thanks again for taking the time to meet with us. Good luck this season, and we'll probably have you on a couple of streams for a couple of interviews at some point.
Yeah, that's great.
So thank you.
Thank you.
What?
Maybe this microphone will work. Nice job, Brock. That was good. Hey, a couple things, though, before we let you guys go. You're more than welcome to stick around. I think we've got plenty of Confluence Bulldog beer to partake in if you would like some. Coming up here on the 25th of November, Saturday, Booster Club Trivia Night. So if you're going to be around, make sure you sign up for that. It's one of the fundraisers the Booster Club does. So that is the 25th of November here, and it is this say the Cellar? Is that right, Russ? The Cellar Winery over in Madrid. It's from 6 to 9, and then the trivia is from 7 to 9. $25 per ticket. So free appetizers and non-alcoholic drinks. There is a cash bar available. So if you're a Booster Club member, or if you want to become one, go ahead and sign up for that. Should be a fun night if you're going to be around for Thanksgiving there. So one thing to look forward to. Brock, what else you got?
I mean, we got the next show coming up.
Yeah, we do.
And if you want to take this mic, just because it sounds like yours is kind of dying out, if you want to give a little preview of what we got, I don't know if we have anything confirmed yet, but we're in the works of getting stuff put together.
Yeah, so our next show is December. Dan, do we have a date on that? Is it the 7th, 6th? It's the first Sunday in December. And we will have our featured guest the 3rd of December. Our featured guest will be Nick Mitchell, the head wrestling coach from Granby University. They've won, I think, 10 national championships. Nick has committed to coming up here that Sunday night, and then we're going to try to have Ballard's men's and women's wrestling coaches on as well. So that'll be the 3rd of December, same place, same time. Yep, probably get dance and cheerleading as well that night. So going to be a little different demographic, but those of you that are here, please come back, see us again. The food will be great again. I would be remiss without thanking Matt and Flight Bar and Grill for allowing us to do this here. Like Coach Schertz said, this isn't the norm anywhere really you go, not even where he's been, but even around here. For us to be able to do what we're doing here and for you people to be sitting here, it's something that we dreamt of in the summertime. Matt and Marianne said, yeah, let's do it, and now it's grown into this, and we want to keep it growing. But without you folks and without Brock and Dan, none of this is possible. So thank you to Matt and Marianne and Flight Bar and Grill. So we give them a hand for doing this. It's a big deal. So anyway, Brock, I'll let you sign us off. But again, thanks, folks. And Coach DeVries was great. Coach Anderson was great. Coach Schertz, you're great. And we're looking forward to the upcoming basketball season. We've got a few kind of down weeks here. I think people are kind of twiddling their thumbs and what do we do? But we got things to look forward to, and hopefully, and I mean, you know, if the next time we come in here and if we don't make the state tournament this year, Coach, well, maybe we'll be out. I'm just no pressure, man, no pressure at all. But Brock, I'll let you sign us off.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody again for coming. Thanks to our guests. Good luck to all the coaches this coming winter season, and we'll see you next month.